Welcome back, Cribbage enthusiasts. Today we're diving into the heart of the game, shuffling and dealing cards. Ever wondered why shuffling is crucial in determining randomness, or maybe you're just curious about the different shuffling techniques and their pros and cons in regards to the game of cribbage, and also some rare rules. Why is that so hard to say? And also some rare rules that actually do kind of apply to this game. You better stick around because we've got all the answers, or at least some of them. All right, let's kick things off with talking about why shuffling is so darn important. You see, in cribbage, a fair and random distribution of cards is key to keeping the games exciting and unpredictable. Without proper shuffling, you might end up with a hand that's less than ideal or very similar. So we have to shuffle well to keep it fair and totally random. There are people who will keep track, and when they notice people don't shuffle well, they will watch and change how they play based on your shuffle and say, ooh, I'm going to guess that because they did this type of shuffle or didn't shuffle enough, I'm either going to not see these cards or I will see these same cards that were just in the last hand. And it can really make a difference if you're paying attention. I know, because it's happened to me. And that's why it's important to keep it totally random. Random is extremely important in the game of cribbage and any game of cards. So, how do we shuffle in cribbage? Cribbage shuffling is important, but what do we shuffle? There are different types of shuffling. The most basic one you've got here, and hopefully this shows up well, is the overhand shuffle, okay? Each one of these has its pros and cons. The overhand shuffle is easy peasy, but it doesn't actually mix up the cards as well as you'd like. If you're doing an overhand shuffle, you have to make sure that you're taking a few cards at a time. That way you're getting the best shuffle possible. If you do the overhand shuffle, you've got to shuffle quite a bit or it doesn't work. I've done this test and you can do it for yourself. Take 7 cards, take 6, 1 for each hand. So 6 cards, and another 6 is 12, and then 1 for the cut card, that's 13. I can math. And turn them over so that they don't match the same as the rest of them. And do a few overhand shuffles and see what happens. The cards stay clumped together, and they often either end up at the top of the deck or the bottom of the deck, so it doesn't get that shuffle. Okay, the one that is probably the ideal type of shuffle, the one most people are going to use is the riffle shuffle. That's the one where you take 2 halves of the deck and you put it down and you go like that, and you can do a bridge to unfold the cards as you do it and that kind of thing. So I think we all know what the riffle shuffle is we're talking about there. It requires a bit more finesse. I didn't learn how to do this shuffle until I was in college, and some people still don't, and that's okay if you don't. There is another option. The third option that I recommend, and some people might look on you funny, is the Vegas wash shuffle. It's like the Cadillac of shuffling. It's funny, but this is what they do in the casinos when they have to shuffle a deck of cards. And what they do, I won't do it with here because I don't know how to do that on camera. So I'll come up with some super good quality animations for you to watch. So, with my super good animation ready, here's what happens. You take your cards and you do half down and half down. You leave them all down. And then you just start to mix them all up. Mix them for like 5 seconds or more, even more. The more you mix them up, the better. And then you push them all together and they're all back together. And it's great and awesome. And this is the most mixed up you can be. If it works for the casinos in terms of ensuring a random game, because goodness knows they don't want to lose money, it's probably good for cribbage too. Okay, so those are the main shuffling techniques. Each one kind of more random than the other, but if you can do that riffle shuffle, if not work on it, that's the ideal. So shuffling in cribbage, there are some rare rules to this that you do kind of need to keep in mind. And I've been in a situation where the 2 people started like arguing and almost got to fisticuffs over whether someone was actually shuffling correctly or not. And so there are some rules. For example, you must shuffle 4 times or more if you're doing that riffle shuffle to get a truly random or as most acceptable random deck of cards. And that's technically a rule that you're supposed to follow when you're playing an official play, but people tend to kind of bend that. So 4 times or more. In Bridge, it actually is a written rule in tournaments that you have to do 7 times or more, because the statistics show that it needs to hit that 7 shuffle times before it finally goes away. So that's, I mean, keep that in mind too. I've been trying to do 7 ever since I heard that, because I know Bridge players are super serious. And that kind of thing. Another rule that you have to follow in cribbage, especially if you're playing an official play, is that if you are the dealer, you must let the pwn or the non-dealer cut, and they must do the cut, perform the cut, whether they want to or not. It's not like in some games where it's like, you want to cut? I'm like, yeah, I want to cut because I think you're cheating. It's not really about that. It's just part of the game to ensure as much randomness as possible. So you have to allow the pwn to cut, and they must accept and perform the cut itself. Not an option, okay? The third rare rule that kind of blew my mind, I've never actually really seen this, but it is listed in the official rules. The pwn, the non-dealer, may shuffle the cards as many times as they like. They just request it, and the dealer must let them shuffle the cards. The dealer must be the last, well, not must. The dealer, it gets the last shuffle, though. So if you are the non-dealer, you think the other person's messing around, shuffle their cards a bunch of times, and then the dealer shuffles their cards again. At that point, it's random. Then you do your cut thing, and it's fine. Now, this rule is a little bit tricky because this one, unlike before, this one does sort of imply that you don't think they're shuffling correctly. Whether you think they're cheating or they're not so good at shuffling, that kind of thing. It's kind of, wonky there, but it is there, and it is in the rules, so just, keep that. So we've talked all about shuffling, but let's talk about dealing cards just a little bit briefly. So after dealer shuffles, and then the pwn cuts, and the dealer deals his cards out, starting with the player on the left. Usually you'll be playing 2 people, so it goes to the non-dealer first, okay? And then you alternate until you hit the cards that you need. And we're here to cover all bases. This sounds pretty simple, but let's just break it down. In 2-player cribbage, you each get 6 cards. So that means starting with the non-dealer, you go 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, all the way up to 6, okay? We're not going to get into the rules of cribbage, but 2 of those cards end up going to the discard if the dealer's crib and all that good stuff. In 3-player cribbage, I found 2 main variations. The one that seems more common is that you start to the dealer's left. Each person gets 1 card at a time until you get to 5. 1 card goes into the crib automatically, blind, unseen. Everybody else discards 1 of their 5 cards into the crib, so that crib gets up to 4. And everyone else has 4. That's one of the main variations. The other variation is that you deal out to everybody gets 5, and then the dealer gets a 6 card. So they get a little bit of an extra advantage because they get to pick 2 cards that go in the crib. I've seen it either way. If you're playing 3-player cribbage, if you're playing 3-player cribbage, just make sure that everybody knows which variation you're doing. Cool? 4-player cribbage, euchre. I do love euchre, but we're talking about cribbage. 4-player cribbage is less of a variation. You're playing with a partner who's across from you, and the dealer deals 1 at a time, starting with the person on their left, all the way in a clockwise motion around the table until everybody gets 5 cards each. 1 card goes into the dealer's crib from each player's hand, and that's how you get to 4. So that's dealing pretty easy, right? And I hope you liked my fancy animations. Well, and there you have it, folks. Shuffling and dealing cards in cribbage might seem like a simple task, but it's the foundation of a great game. Remember to keep it fair, mix it up with different shuffling techniques, and deal like a pro. Well, so thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Do you have any questions, or do you want to ask more stuff about cribbage, or tell a funny cribbage shuffling dealing story? Well, drop a comment below, and of course, you can subscribe for more cribbage tips and tricks. Until next time, happy shuffling. So thanks for tuning in.